number one most requested video from you guys to me is how to get cheap flights / cheap airline tickets / cheap airfare. Well, guess what? This is this video. Now, there is one thing that I want you guys to remember throughout this entire video. The number one tip of getting cheap flights is you have to be flexible. There's no way that you're going to get cheap flights without being flexible. And I'm talking about flexible on the dates that you're flying, flexible on the times that you're flying, flexible on the destination that you are flying, and flexible on the airports. If you are flexible in all of those and more, if you're even more flexible than that, then I promise you, we can find you some cheap tickets. Know your airline comparison engines. The best ones that I use and that most travel bloggers use are Kayak, Monmodo, Skyscanner, Hitmonk, and Airfare Watchdog. Those are the best ones that I have personally found. So the first thing we're gonna do is obviously check the airline comparison engines. They're gonna compare different airlines and different types of tickets. Then go to those airlines' direct site and see if maybe they offer a better deal or a better route. Another trick is if you find a cheap flight on one of these airline comparison engines, take that flight to your local travel agent and ask them to match that. A lot of times they will match it or even beat the price. So that's another way to get an even cheaper flight from a cheap flight. Check the surrounding airports in that city and in nearby cities, as it tends to be cheaper to fly into larger airports. This is especially true in Europe when there's so many large cities close by. It's really easy to take buses and trains to get to the city that you want to go to. Just remember though, before you start celebrating your great savings by flying into another airport or another city that's close by, check the price of how much it's going to cost for you to get from that airport or city to your hotel or to your intended destination, because that can add up to be quite a bit more. And if you're not careful, then the price kind of negates itself and there's no point in flying to the other city if it's just going to cost you. The same goes for booking red eyes and for booking early morning flights. Make sure you know the cost of getting from the airport to your hotel, because that can add up to quite a bit extra if you are not careful, especially in the morning time when public transportation is not running, or late at night when public transportation is not running, and then you're forced to take taxis, which are always going to be more expensive than public transportation, thus making your total airfare cost more expensive. If you have more time on your hands, you can set up something called a price alert. Kayak does this really well, where you have a saved route and they will alert you to when that route's price goes down, or if it's going to potentially go up higher. So it'll give you advice on when you should buy that ticket to get you like the best price possible. That's a very good tool. Another good tool is using Airfare Watchdog, which you can kind of put your departing airport in, and they will tell you when there's great deals either everywhere or like certain places that you want to go. Another option is signing up for deals. So these are deals from the airlines directly. These are deals from tour companies or things like Flight Center, or they are deals from the airline comparison engines. And basically, if you could put up with newsletters coming into your inbox quite frequently, they usually have like flash 1-day sales, 2-day sales, discounts, and percentages off certain destinations. Keeping on with the flexibility topic, don't pick your destination first. Google.com/flights have an amazing tool that basically lets you put in your departing airport and search everywhere else in the world, and it gives you the cheapest flights in that time period that you are selecting. So if you're flexible on the destination, you can get some really great priced flights. One, it's a great way to get a cheap flight, and two, it opens your mind to destinations you never would have thought of visiting before. Airline credit cards. If you haven't already, sign up for one. You need to get a points card in one of the 3 major airline alliances: SkyTeam, Star Alliance, or One World. And which one of those you choose will be dependent on whatever is your local carrier. So wherever you live, whatever airline serves that destination, that airport more frequently, or your country more frequently, get the corresponding airline card for that. By signing up, you will automatically get bonus sign-up points. Almost all of them offer a signing bonus, which is just for signing up. And normally that's almost a free flight, or is a free flight just by signing up for the credit card. Then put everything that you buy on that credit card. I'm talking about everything. Put your groceries, put anything that you buy. Try to even put like your rent and stuff like that, if you can, on that credit card, because every dollar you spend is a point that gets you free flights. Just by buying things that you are already gonna be buying and already gonna be spending money on. Obviously, don't go crazy and start buying things you don't need, and make sure you don't keep a balance, because then you're just going to be paying interest, which is counteracting all of the points that we are accumulating. Book your tickets in parts. This is going to be a whole lot of trial and error that's involved in this. Booking your tickets in parts gives you a lot of flexibility, because you can, one, leave from different airports and different cities and different countries. So that's a lot easier to look into that. And so one airport or one city or one country might be cheaper than the other. So when you add up those two one-ways, it's actually cheaper than the return ticket would be. Say you were traveling from Australia to England and your destination is England. Check out maybe if you want to do a stopover somewhere in between, you could stop over in Dubai or something. So you can book a one-way to Dubai and then book a separate one-way from Dubai to England. Check the price of that to see if that's even cheaper than flying directly to England. When do we fly? Weekends tend to be more expensive because a lot of people fly because they have the time off during the weekend. This is pretty much standard knowledge, so fly during the weekday. Don't fly during the holidays. Don't do it. You are not going to get a cheap flight. It doesn't happen. Holidays are just ridiculous. Airlines always increase their fares. There's always increase of traffic. It's chaos. If you can avoid flying during the holidays, avoid it. Delete your cookies, aka your browser's saved settings, because if you are looking at a certain flight, by some flight airline comparison engines do this, some airlines do this, but they save your data and they might increase the price because they want you to create that urgency that you should buy right away because now the price is going up. Buy domestic flights domestically and buy international flights wherever. But try not to buy domestic flights in any country that you are going to when you are abroad. Buy those flights when you are in the country because they are cheaper with the local currency, using the local search engines, and when you were there. Trust me. Best day to buy, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, maybe Thursdays. It's basically just when all the airlines, when all the deals come out, so. Best time to buy. For domestic flights, I find between 3 months to about 2 weeks. You can get a pretty decent price in domestic flights after 2 weeks in, then you're kind of going to be paying a bit more because it's so like last minute. For international flights, it's between 5 months to, I would say, 3 weeks. After about 3 weeks, those international flights can go quite up. But anytime in between there, then you're probably going to get an okay deal. Fly standby. If you are super, super flexible, like really flexible, and you're ready for an adventure and risk, you can always fly standby, which is like going to the airport and being like, so what flights do we got here? What can you put me on? What's the best price? Where to? And then you hop on a flight and it can be pretty cheap. I've not personally ever done it because I like to know a little bit more of what my destination is, but I do know friends that do fly standby a lot. So if you are flexible and you're just like ready to go for adventure, that is an option for you. Things to look out for, excess fees. It's nothing worse than buying a cheap ticket that you thought was cheap and then going to the airport and realizing you're gonna be paying $50 each way for your bags. That doesn't make it a cheap ticket anymore. So make sure you know that whatever flight and airline that you are flying with, do they charge for baggage fees? Finding cheap flights is a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of time. There is no perfect formula. There is no magic button. It takes just trying, testing, putting in different locations, putting in different things, waiting, being patient, keeping your eye out for stuff, and being really flexible. Remember, flexible on date, time, location. And you can find them. I promise you, you can find cheaper flights if you put in that time. And it's worth it. Trust me, that time is worth it when you are saving hundreds of dollars. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If there is any other things that I did miss, please let me know down below in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more travel videos and more travel tips. But yeah, all right, bye.
Hello everybody and welcome to Attaché, the show that gets you in, out, and around some of the world's greatest cities. My name's Alex Hunter and I'll be your Sherpa on this international adventure. And today we're in the city so good they named it twice, New York, New York. before we get started, I need to issue a small disclaimer. New York City is huge. I mean, not just geographically, but experientially. And for us to try and cram the essence of one of the most iconic cities on earth into a single episode and try and do it justice, it's just impossible. So as much as it seems like heresy to admit Brooklyn, Williamsburg, the Bronx, Queens, all of the other boroughs that are just as much a part of New York as any other, we're gonna focus this show just on Manhattan. Please, please don't hate me, but I have good news. To make up for it, we're gonna dedicate an entire show to the greater New York City area in season 3. So put down the pitchforks, people. New York is gonna get the love it deserves.
Let's go!
New York City is served by 3 major airports, and all 3 of them rank the worst in North America for just about everything. Waiting times, lost luggage, delays, you name it. But there's something almost endearing in the awfulness of JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia. Instead of raw hatred, it's more of a, oh you, kind of feeling. All 3 airports are slated for major redevelopment in the next decade, but until then, oh you. Since you could be coming into any of those 3 airports, we're going to quickly tell you how to get into town from each of them. Despite being quite a long way out of town, taxis are actually a great option from JFK because there's a fixed fee, $52.50 plus tip. Do not forget to tip. Now you're going to have to pay bridge or tunnel tolls as well. Don't forget, Manhattan is an island. I'm also a big fan of the Airporter, which is a bus service, flat fee $17 each way, free Wi-Fi, and it drops you off at Penn Station, right in the middle of Manhattan.
LaGuardia. Primarily, but not exclusively, the home of domestic flights, LaGuardia is the closest airport to Manhattan. Taxis don't have a fixed fare from the airport, but it shouldn't cost you more than $30 plus tolls and tip. The New York City Airporter bus also has a service from LaGuardia to Grand Central, and it's just $12 each way. It will take you between 40 and 60 minutes to get into Manhattan, depending on traffic.
While technically in New Jersey, Newark Airport is actually really convenient if you're staying anywhere in Chelsea, Tribeca, Greenwich Village, Soho, anywhere like that. And there's a direct train link from just outside of the airport to right here in Penn Station, which is really convenient. Only takes 30 minutes and costs $12.50.
Let's go!
Getting around New York is damn good fun. It takes some confidence, some know-how, and sometimes a little bit of luck, but you have a ton of options available to you. The New York subway system doesn't get nearly enough love from tourists. In the 70s and early 80s, it had a well-earned reputation as being dirty and dangerous, but those days are long gone. In my opinion, the subway is the best way to get around New York, no questions asked. You avoid the city's notoriously bad traffic. It runs 24 hours a day, almost in all circumstances, and it's really cost-effective. At first glance, the New York subway system can seem intimidating. With its express trains and normal trains and sometimes confusing nomenclature for lines, I can see why tourists avoid it, but don't. Spend some time with the map, plot your route on Google Maps or Citymapper, ask one of the customer service reps in a station, and before you know it, you will be a subway expert too. But just in case, a few things to remember. As I said, some lines are express, meaning they skip stations along the way to provide a faster service. But wherever there is an express service, there's also a standard service, which will stop at every stop along the way. Local and express lines often use different tracks altogether, so make sure you're standing on the right platform for the train that you want to catch. So one quick thing to note about the New York subway system is you may have found the right subway station, but double check the sign over the entrance to make sure that you have the right line. So for example, this is 34th Street Penn Station, but this entrance right behind me is only for lines 1, 2, and 3. If you want the other lines, the entrance could be across the street or at least a block away in this instance. So have a quick look, otherwise you're going to be up and down those stairs all day like we were several times yesterday, embarrassingly. New York's stored value transit system is the Metro card. You can use it on buses and the subway, and just to be absolutely clear, you have to have a Metro card to get on the subway. There's no other way to do it. And you can get one in any subway station, at the vending machines, at a ticket booth. Also, you can get them in newsstands and a lot of convenience stores. Just look for the Metro card sign in the window of the store. There are a few different types of Metro cards. Single-use cards are $2.75 and are good for one use only. You don't get free transfers with them, and they expire 2 hours after you've bought them. Pay-per-ride cards are stored value and come in values between $4.50 and $80. Each time you ride the subway or bus, $2.50 is decremented from it. You can top them up at any of the subway station or train station vending machines. Metro card.
Take a walk on the wild side.
The quintessential New York taxi, instantly recognizable. The entire city swarms with them, so they're never that hard to find. So I want to give you a few tips for taking a taxi in New York City. A couple of things to remember when taking taxis in New York. When you're telling the driver where you want to go, don't even bother mentioning the name of the place or even the address. Things change so quickly here. So unless you're going to some landmark destination like the Empire State Building, the best way to reference your destination is by the intersection, the street and avenue where your destination is. So for example, if I want to get back to my hotel, the outstanding Cambria in Chelsea, instead of saying the address of the hotel, I would say, please driver, take me to West 28th between 7th and Avenue of the Americas. That way the driver knows the block, the specific block that I need to go to on an otherwise very, very long street. New York City is one of Uber's flagship cities, so there are cars everywhere. Prices are usually comparable to, if not cheaper than taxis, but even Uber hasn't figured out how to crack New York City's traffic, so you still have that to contend with. Manhattan is a very walkable city, even when the weather is lousy like it is today. It's almost entirely flat, and the grid system gives you a great indicator of distance. There are about 20 blocks in a mile when you're walking along the avenues. That's north to south. Average person can walk about a block a minute or 60 blocks in an hour, so about 3 miles an hour. But note, when you're walking along the avenues east to west, the blocks are generally a lot longer, so that rule does not apply. But the great thing about walking in New York City is the little gems that you'll discover along the way. As the avenues take you through the different neighborhoods, New York life unfolds before you.
Hey, Apollo, you should have seen him go, go, go. They said, hey, sugar.
The diners and dive bars and delis that define New York are never going to be the ones you find in a guidebook or a TV show, not even this one. You have to let serendipity take you by the hand and lead you on a New York adventure. So wrap up warm, be careful when crossing the street, and just let New York City do its thing. So not as perhaps exciting as a Mumbai street crossing, you do need to keep your wits about you when you're crossing the street in New York City. Mainly because in America, and Europeans often forget this, cars are allowed to turn right on a red light. And if you're not watching where they're going or where you're going, you're gonna get knocked on your ass. It's really easy to be drawn to the flickering lights of somewhere like Times Square like a depressing touristy moth. But New York shines brightest when you step away from the glitz and glamour, explore the side streets, alleyways, and backways that make this city so great. So when you leave your hotel, instead of automatically gravitating towards where everybody else is going, go in the opposite direction. Take a walk into a diner or a deli or a bagel shop that has people that look like they've been there their whole life. They're gonna be so full of stories about this awesome city that you're never gonna wanna leave.
Take a walk on the wild side.
This is a city that loves its food, almost to the point of obsession. Some of the best restaurants in the world are here. Per se, Le Bernardin are often mentioned among the best in the world. But it's also home to fusion foods, experimental, and just plain cool spots like Danny Bowen's Mission Chinese, and basically everything that David Chang does. But this is a city where trends change quickly, and the hot restaurant du jour could be a distant memory in just a few weeks. So if this is your first time to New York, my advice, stick to the classics. New York Culinary Fare has its staples, and they should be respected and revered. And we're gonna start with the granddaddy of them all, pizza. We're here with Scott Wiener from Scott's Pizza Tours to give us an education on the best pizza in New York. I am foaming at the mouth, almost literally, to do this.
I'm always, when I'm this close to a pizzeria, I like start shaking.
All right, let's do it.
You got an upside down coming out anytime, like a new one? If there's a fresh one coming out, just like shoot a flare in the air or like call my cell phone. I'm just kidding, I'll be right over there. Oh, baby. This is what I'm talking about.
So we're at New York Pizza Suprema on 8th. Why here?
You know what? We're right across the street from Penn Station at Madison Square Garden. Totally touristy spot. You would never find any good food over here. But this place has been here since 1964. It's like a holdout, the best food in the area, and it's the most typical. I took it here because this is like typical New York slice shop, but not in the Village, not downtown in Little Italy. It's like in a spot that's had it since the mid-60s, and these days you would never expect to find anything good here.
Everybody has heard about New York pizza. It's a thing. But what is New York pizza? Why is it so unique? Why is it the best? Is it the best? Is that a dangerous question to ask a New Yorker?
I mean, well, look, a New Yorker's always going to say it's the best, but I'm technically from New Jersey. So I'll say that the thing of New York style, but what makes it what it is, specifically this type of New York style, because that phrase New York style means a bunch of things. But the New York slice is this. Like when most people think of New York style pizza, they think of like slice hanging off the edge of a paper plate, you know, with a little shininess on top of it. And this is the kind of pizza that's real typical in New York because it's easy to eat when you're on the go.
Right. So we've got just the cheese slices. Why? That's pretty basic.
Classy, elegance. I mean, and this is not a topping town. It's not a kind of place where you order like 16 toppings on a pizza. Pizza means this. Everything else is something additional. Here in New York, it's about crust, sauce, and cheese. The Holy Trinity, the basics.
The Holy Trinity, okay. And so the litmus test for any good pizza place is the cheese slice.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I can't stand it any longer. I have to get in here.
Just enough crunch, yet it relents to the bite. It does not shatter. It folds and only cracks at the last inch to an inch and a half. Awesome.
Wow. Yes.
It's important that I keep up to date in the pizza world by reading magazines like Pizza Today magazine.
Who knew there was such a thing?
It's real.
So what, is the audience...
Pizzerias. It's a trade magazine, dude. Look at this. It's a whole article about authentic New York pizza in Corpus Christi.
And after getting our pizza education, we went out in search of another New York staple, the beloved bagel.
There are a few foods more quintessentially New York than a bagel with a smear. I actually believe the correct pronunciation is schmear of cream cheese. Now, there are bagel places all over New York, and they vary in quality, but generally, they're going to be way better than anything you'll get outside of the city. We're at Brooklyn Bagel and Coffee in Chelsea, and I am about to schmear this all over my face. And I'll eat it at the same time. New York City is the most expensive city in America. You probably figured that out when you booked your hotel room. Ugh. But not everything. I said there's a man in the bin behind you. Oh, he's gone now. Okay. Not everything here is painfully expensive. In fact, consumer goods and food are very affordable if you're not standing where I'm standing. One can make an argument that New York is the fashion capital of the United States, if not the entire world. I can't come here, look at all this, without adorning myself in the finest silk robes or the latest in velour jumpsuits. Yes, that's right, I'm a fashionista. God damn it, there's a hole in my jeans. That's embarrassing. Anyway, New York really does have great shopping, and things are almost always cheaper here than outside of the US due to low sales tax and a bunch of other reasons, so be prepared for some hefty credit card bills. As we mentioned in other US episodes, ATMs here charge you a fee just for the privilege of using them. Now that's on top of any fee that your bank back home is going to charge for a foreign transaction. So that's all the more reason to get a bank account that doesn't charge you for overseas transactions. So how expensive is New York? Let's do the rundown.
Yeah, a pint of beer will cost you around $7.
A cup of coffee will cost you around $2.50. And for the most reliable indicator of a nation's cost, the good old Big Mac, you're gonna pay about $4.80. Tipping. I know I always go on about this when we're in American cities, but it is a uniquely American quirk. I think it's especially important to talk about here in New York City, where commercial and residential rents are so high. I've ranted about this in previous episodes, so I'm going to try and keep my cool here. But the bottom line is this: tip. Always. At least 15%. There is almost no reason to not tip. If you think tipping is dumb and you've got a better way for waitstaff to be compensated, well, that's super duper. But until your legislation is enacted in the year 2047, tip. You're not tipping because you think it's dumb, or tipping with a Bible quote, or tipping with something that's not money. This is a jerk move. You're screwing over somebody who works hard for a living. So be cool and tip. As we wrap up this episode, it feels like we've barely even scratched the surface of this most famous of cities, but I hope at the very least we've equipped you with the know-how to make the most of your time here. Around every corner, New York offers you something new, something interesting, something delicious, something exciting. It's a city that deserves to be explored and rewards the curious visitor. I've been here dozens of times, but I still have more wow moments here than in any other city I've ever visited, and I know you will too. And that, my friends, is the Attaché Guide to New York City. As I said, we're going to be back here in Season 3 to cover the rest of this amazing city. But for now, if you have any tips or tricks that you think every visitor to New York needs to know, then leave them in the comments section below. And while you're there, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, because we have a lot of great cities coming up. And finally, if you think that we should come to your city in Season 3, then let us know in the comments on Twitter or on Facebook. We are excited to explore the rest of this world with you.